I said I'll probably make an edit on this later on, so you don't have to skip ahead to this part. Okay, so anyways, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Prana Transmission Technique 3-day challenge. So thank you very much for being here. Like I said, I'm still a little bit under the weather. I'm getting better though. But if you were tuning into yesterday's New Earth Insights, you know that I was talking about the new and improved Prana Transmission Technique that's to come. And that this is basically clearing away the old Prana Transmission Technique that basically relied upon the idea of Chandra Badana Pranayama, the idea of single nostril breathing. Okay, so as effective as single nostril breathing is, that's not really what we're going to be using for the new and improved version of the Prana Transmission Technique. As I was talking about with what took place last week, I was the one that was basically making myself unwell because I was really pushing the envelope with myself to do a lot of the Chandra Badana Pranayama, and I basically just did it over and over and over again in one day to really kind of energize my body. But I basically did it to the point where the body started getting cold, and I stopped right away, and that's what led to, well, what I have right now. So again, Chandra Badana Pranayama is very, very powerful, but we have to be very, very careful with it, as I had to go through that experience and realize. So this is where, when we're looking at the brand new Prana Transmission Technique, we're not going to involve the idea of single nostril breathing or alternate nostril breathing in that way. We're actually going to do something very, very simple. And all that involves is what we have been doing in BCR technique, and that is heart rate variability. So the brand new Prana Transmission Technique, which I'm going to show you guys here, is much simpler, right? So the very first thing we want to do when we're starting Prana Transmission Technique is we just want to be aware of the thought that our emotions have basically grasped and applied to ourselves as identity. Now, let's say, for example, we have a thought about our father. And as soon as we think of our father, there's some of these emotions that come up, right? So maybe I feel angry about him. Maybe I feel sad about him. Maybe I feel fearful about him. Maybe I feel guilty about him. Maybe I feel ashamed around him. Okay, so these are just some examples of emotions that are tied in pertaining to that person. But that person is just representing the thought. So with that thought that is there, and all of the emotions that are surrounding that thought altogether, our step is to just clear away the emotional inflammation surrounding that particular thought. So in order for us to do this, we're going to do breath work. And the breath work we're going to do is heart rate variability. Okay? So like I said, this is what we used to do with Chandra Badana Pranayama, where we'd go through the left nostril, out to the right nostril, but we're not doing that anymore. Instead, we're going to be doing heart rate variability. So what I'd like you all to do right now, because I have quite a lot of you joining me, is I want you just to close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Just be aware of yourself right now. Just be aware of your body. Be aware of your space. And I want you now just to think of a thought. Think of a thought that you feel has been problematic. Okay? Maybe it's surrounding a person, a place, an event, a thing. And once you have that thought that you feel is problematic, I want you just to look at that thought, just like that thought's looking back at your face right now. Right? And I want you just to be aware of anything of how you feel, any emotion pertaining to that thought. Right? Do you feel angry? Do you feel sad? Do you feel fearful? Do you feel guilty or full of grief? Do you feel ashamed? Whatever it may be. Just be aware. Be aware of how it makes you feel. And now that you have that awareness now, we're now going to go ahead and clear away the emotional inflammation surrounding that thought. So for what the first step we're going to do is we're going to do what's known as the transmission posture. Okay? So, if you have already watched the previous version of Prana Transmission Technique, you know that this is what we do in phase 2. We just raise our hands like this, which I call the transmission posture, and we would just start breathing through our body in and out, and that would help to clear out the cellular body, okay, which we are going to be getting to still. But all we're doing first is we're going to do the transmission posture. Now that we have the transmission posture, we're just being aware of that thought, and we're just going to start doing heart rate variability breath. Okay, so with your hands like this, with your eyes closed, taking a deep breath in through the nose for the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excuse me. So, once we have done those 5 breaths, we just come back and we check on the thought. So what is the thought now? How is the thought making me feel? Is the thought affecting me at all? Okay. So we do heart rate variability, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, and we do that again 4 more times for a total of 5 repetitions of the heart rate variability. Once we have done that, we're just checking in with the thought. We check in with the thought and we're just asking the question, does this thought still affect me? Okay. If the answer is yes, that's okay. We're going to go back and we're going to do another 5 breaths once again. If the answer is no, great job. Then you just say, am I ready to let this thought go? Yes. Okay. I'm letting the thought go. I'm letting it go back into the darkness. And it does not have to ever come back to me again, not unless I invoke it. Okay. That's it. That's the end of phase 1. Is we're just doing heart rate variability 5 times and just breathing in through that thought with all of that emotional inflammation there. And the breath itself is just completely vacuuming out all of that emotional inflammation. So the reason why heart rate variability is a good substitution for Chandra, Badan, Pranayam is because they both stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, Chandra, Badan, Pranayam stimulates the parasympathetic, as does heart rate variability. So heart rate variability, again, is just a lot more simpler. We don't have to concern about body temperature. We don't have to concern about holding the breath, retaining the breath, or anything of that nature. All we're doing is we're just working together with heart rate variability, stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, which brings us into a natural state of calm and relaxation. And just through that calmness and relaxation, all of that inflammation within the thought vanishes. And then we just send it on its way. And now we go into the second phase right now. Okay, the second phase is just very similar to what you've discovered before in the previous version, where all we're doing now is we're just breathing in spirit, breathing out spirit, breathing in spirit, breathing out spirit, breathing in spirit, breathing out spirit. And then we're going to do our Sankalpa. Again, Sankalpa means your heart-centered intention. Okay, a heart-centered intention, an intention that comes very much from the depths of your soul, something that you're very, very deeply sincere with. So an example for this is, I am healing my body to clear away this emotional condition. Okay, very simple. I am healing my body to clear away this emotional condition. So let's go ahead and say that now, Sankalpa 3 times, and each time you say it, be more sincere. So first time you're sincere, second time you're more sincere, third time you're the most sincere. Okay, so take a deep breath in now and just say the Sankalpa within your mind. I am healing my body to clear away this emotional condition. I am healing my body to clear away this emotional condition. I am healing my body to clear away this emotional condition. And after you have said your Sankalpa 3 times, just relax, following heart rate variability. Breathing in for 4, Exhaling for 6. If you want to adjust the number of seconds, you can, just to accommodate your length of breath. And just be with the breath. And now we're just letting spirit working within ourselves through the breath to cleanse out the cellular body, representing all of those emotional conditions that we previously encountered through that thought. And we just stay with phase 2 breath, with the phase 2 transmission, until we feel intuitively that we're good to go, until we feel intuitively that we're ready to return back into normal consciousness. Okay? But all we're doing here is just following the breath. That's it. You don't have to focus on the thought. You don't have to focus on emotions. All you're doing is you're just staying with the rhythm of heart rate variability. Okay? So we do heart rate variability from the very first one, from the first phase. We clear away the thought. We go into phase 2. We breathe in spirit, breathe out spirit, in spirit, out spirit, in spirit, out spirit, 3 times. Then we again have our sankalpa, saying that 3 times. We can say it out loud too if you want, either in the head or out loud is fine. After you say your sankalpa, just tune into your breath, heart rate variability. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And repeat, 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 and staying there for as long as you want. There's no time limit. Okay, you stay there for as long as you need to, and intuition will tell you you're clean, you're good, and you're fine. Okay? Especially with what I've been going through here, the feeling of not being too well. I've been doing a lot more of the heart rate variability and prana transmission, and it's been helping out extensively. I actually had a bit of a lung infection on the Monday when I came back, and I was basically working with spirit overnight, and the next morning the lung infection itself, everything pertaining to the condition was gone, which was great, wonderful news. So like I said, this is very, very powerful. This is all just a matter of our thoughts, informations, emotions surrounding the thoughts being completely snuffed out altogether. So this is why Prana Transmission Technique is so incredibly simple. Okay? When we look at something like BCR technique also is quite simple. What BCR technique is, it's attempting to bring you into the heart space because it's all about reinforcement. When we're looking at Prana Transmission Technique, all we're doing is release. This is just a release practice, right? So some questions here on the chat. Demi says, hello Demi, can I also practice this during EMDR therapy? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely you can. You can practice it anywhere you wish. You can practice it while you're doing anything. Even if you're doing things like Reiki, if you're doing things like quantum hypnosis, if you're doing anything of that nature. Again, Prana Transmission Technique is compatible with everything, okay? It can even be worked together with other forms of techniques, methods. It can be worked with anywhere, right? Of course, we don't want to do it when we're driving. No. Please make sure you're pulling over the side of the road before you do anything like that. You can't be doing this with your eyes closed while trying to drive. So that's probably the only condition I would say. Make sure you're pulling over the side of the road, and you can do Prana Transmission, okay? So this, again, is the much more simplified version. When I was also doing the earlier version, the first version of Prana Transmission Technique, I'd get feedback from some people and saying, oh, Brad, it's just really uncomfortable trying to have me hold my breath like that for as long as I possibly could. Because I was always like, try and hold it as long as you can, as long as you can, right? And that creates some unnecessary strain, and we don't really want that. So that's why, again, that's another reason why I wanted to phase that out and basically just stick with heart rate variability, because it is so simple and it's such a very powerful and effective breath, okay? So I just want you guys to continue to work with this, continue to work with any thought that comes up. So whatever thought it is, whether it's something in regards to like a person, place, event, or thing. How about things with yourself, okay? What about looking into your past, looking into your childhood, looking into your teenage years? Anything that represents a problematic thought. Of course, we have hundreds of thousands of thoughts per day. We're not looking to track down every single random thought that we have or we've ever had. You'd be spending thousands of lifetimes trying to do that. If we have like 100,000 thoughts a day, right? And we've lived for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. You're looking at, we're not going to invest in something like that. what we're doing is we're looking at themed thoughts. So the themed thoughts are the thoughts that have the emotional inflammation wrapped around them. Okay? So when we have a thought pertaining to, let's say, for example, the dad, the father, and he's like this with me, there's a lot of trouble between him and I, there's a lot of anger and animosity there. Okay, very good. So now that we have that awareness, all we're doing is we're just being aware of that thought. And like I said, we're going into Prana Transmission Technique. And all we're doing is we're just closing our eyes, following heart rate variability, and just doing 5 HRV breaths. Okay. Now again, very important is just make sure you have your own rhythm with heart rate variability. I often teach it with 4 seconds in 6 seconds out. Okay. But you may decide that there's something more efficient with that. You may decide 3 seconds in and 5 seconds out, or 5 seconds in and 7 seconds out, or whatever else it may be. Okay. But whatever rhythm of breath that you decide to do, just make sure you're adding 2 seconds of exhale to the out breath, okay, when you're doing heart rate variability. And like I said, we just do 5 repetitions. That 5 repetitions represents 1 run. So we're doing 1 run on the thought, okay? And if you don't get it the first time, that's okay. So, okay, is that thought still affecting me? Yeah, Brad, it's still affecting me. Okay, that's no problem. Here's my second question. Is it lighter than it was before? Oh yeah, it was definitely lighter. Great, you're making progress, okay? Even if it's just a little bit lighter after those 5 breaths, you're making progress, okay? So we do it again, another 5. How is it? Yeah, it's still there, but it's getting lighter. Great, do another 5. How is it? Yeah, it's gone. Great job. Now just look at that thought for what it is and let it go back into the darkness. Can I let this thought go? Yes, let it go back into the darkness. And now it's out of your hair. It's out of your field, unless you try and purposely invoke it back. Okay? So that's basically the answer to the question, is saying, well, Brad, how long does this last? When I do Prana Transmission Technique on a thought, can I expect to see that thought back the next day? If you do not invoke it, no, you probably won't ever see it again. All right? And even if it does come back, it won't play any impact on you, because you've completely taken out the emotional inflammation surrounding it. So this again is why we have the thought themes. This is why we have the thought identity that we do. We have that thought identity because our emotions feel we need that thought. It's part of what we feel our identity is. So if we're feeling angry about our dad, we have that anger situation. We think our dad's a narcissist or whatever it may be. And we get that victim mentality pertaining to something that our dad did, then that again is part of our identity, right? Our emotions, like flames, are covering up this ball of thought. So here's a ball of thought right here, and now we have all these flames just completely saturating the ball. And so what we're doing is we're just doing something simple with Prana Transmission Technique, and we're extinguishing those flames. That's it. The only reason that thought is there is because of emotional attachment. Okay? Once that emotional attachment is gone, the thought can go on its way. The interesting thing here is that the thought itself is actually innocent. It is an innocent thought. It's our own emotions that are basically making that thought vile. Right? It's our own meaning as to how we associate that thought through our emotions that makes that thought what it is through our own personality. So that's why we're quenching out that flame altogether. It's like we have a candle snuffer and we're snuffing out the flame. And now the flame is gone, and now that thought does not have to be here. You can just push it away. See, I let it go. So that's what we do after we, again, do the run. We do the 5 HRV breaths. We check in with the thought. Does this thought still affect me? No. Can I let it go? Yes. I let it go. And that's it. Then we go on to phase 2. In phase 2, we're just cleaning the cellular body. Now, when you're doing phase 1, let's say, for example, that you have 5 different thoughts that you want to work with. Okay, so I have something here with my dad. I have something here with my mom. I have something here with my brother. I have something here with my sister. And I have something here with my work. Okay, so there's 5 things. So once I finish the first thing with my dad, good. I move on to the second thought. Now here's the thing with my mom. I clean that up. And then here's the next thing with my brother. I clean that up. Here's the next thing with my sister. I clean that up. And here's the thing with my job. I clean that up. So after I've cleaned up all of those thoughts, then I would go into phase 2. Okay, so we don't go into phase 2 until we finish phase 1 first. So if you have 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 thoughts, for example, 20 thought themes that you want to clear away, make sure all of those are cleaned away first, and then we go into phase 2. Okay, even if you need to take a break and say, okay, I did 2 thoughts, I cleaned out 2 thoughts, I want to take a bit of a break, I'll go get a glass of water. Fine, that's no problem. The thoughts will still be there and waiting for you. Okay, and we just clean out more and more of those thoughts, and we just don't go into phase 2 until we completely finish all of the thought themes that we want to clear in phase 1. And once phase 1 is done, then we go into phase 2, and then we just clean out the cellular body. This is why we're breathing in spirit, breathing out spirit. Now, if you don't want to say spirit, you can say just breathe in the light. Okay, breathing in the light, breathing out the light, breathing in the light, breathing out the light. Okay, you can say breathe in God, breathe in the light, breathe in spirit, breathe in source, whatever you want to do. You're breathing in your power. That's what it is. You're breathing in your pure divine source power, because it is that source power that is cleaning the body behind the scenes as you follow the heart rate variability in phase 2. So basically the entire body is just being saturated with this pure prana. This is why we call it prana transmission. Okay, so we're using this because this is basically a symbol of surrender. Okay, this is not saying that I give up or anything of that nature, but what it is that I'm relinquishing. I'm relinquishing the flow of my being, and I'm trusting the divine within me to take care of this. Right? So this is why our hands are up like this. This is also representing transmission. So we're basically feeling like energy is flowing in through the hands and out through the hands at the same time, and like it's rippling through our entire body when we go into phase 2. So with phase 1, we're doing this because, like I said, we're surrendering, right? That's kind of like the symbol. We're saying, okay, I'm relinquishing any feeling of control I have with this thought. I'm letting it go completely, right? This is why we keep our hands up, okay? So there's kind of like a symbolic imprint pertaining to this. I'm surrendering. I'm not going to do anything to this thought. I'm just observing this thought as it is, and I'm just witnessing it. I see the emotions there. And now I'm going to do heart rate variability. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, very good. How is it feeling? Yeah, it feels good. It feels gone. Okay. Are you ready to let it go? Yes. Okay. With our hands up still, we go into phase 2. Okay. We breathe in spirit 3 times. We do our sankalpa. Okay. Remember, sankalpa is your heart-based intention. Okay. With your heart-based intention, like I said, just something very simple. I am healing my body to clear away this emotional condition. You can use that if you want to. Okay. If you have something better, use something better. Just make sure you're very sincere about it. Your sincerity is key. Very, very important. Okay. And once we do that, we just stay with heart rate variability breath for as long as we feel we need to. Our intuition is guiding us, and our intuition will tell us when it's over. And then we just drop our hands, take a deep breath in and out. And you're done. Congratulations. Enjoy the day. Okay. So this is very, very simple. This is why Prana Transmission Technique has worked so well, even when we were doing the first version as well, too, just with the Chandra Badana Pranayam. I was getting a lot of people who said, yeah, I was able to heal like stomach problems with it. I was able to heal backaches with it. I was able to clear out a lot of emotional debris with that. Me too. I was even clearing away quite a few stuff with the earlier version. And I'm still able to do the exact same with the new version, right? But the new version is a little bit easier. So now I'm still getting the exact same benefits, just with a much more simpler version altogether. Okay. All right. So this is a question here from Aurike. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Did you clean up your black sheep being with your family like this? Well, I wasn't actually aware of Prana Transmission Technique at the time. When I was actually doing a lot of ancestral clearing, if you guys don't know what Aurike is talking about, basically yesterday on New Earth Insights, I was talking about the black sheep analogy. That there are certain people that come into a family, and we may be the only person in the family that kind of walks more of a deep inner path, right? That basically is able to see a lot more of the bigger picture. That's maybe a lot more intuitive, a lot more receptive, right? A lot more sensitive in that way. And we're able to see things a lot more deeper than perhaps the rest of the family can. We're also able to actually love a lot more deeper than a lot of the family can. That's not a dig on the family or anything, but basically the ability to love on a very, very deeper level. Okay, And I referred to these people as kind of like the black sheep, or the outcast in that sense. But the better term would be the cleaner, right? You're being the cleaner. And you're the one that's actually going through the family line and helping to clean everything up, because you are the one that's actually willing to do a lot of the inner work, right? So we're healing with the ancestors. We're healing the family line. We're healing a lot of our own traumas. We're just kind of cleaning up the environment in the background so that the generations to come will start to really illuminate this family line. Now, not everybody does that. That's the interesting thing. When you basically are the cleaner in that sense, a lot of us basically just clean ourselves, and that's it. And that's fine, but it's really good to also focus on the ancestral line at the same time. I was doing a lot of that work a couple of years back. I think it's probably even going back to like 2018, 2019, around there. But now this is way before Prana Transmission. Prana Transmission's brand spanking new. Okay, it's brand new. It was more so around light circuitry. Light circuitry attunements and EQ method is what I was using to clean up a lot of that. Okay, because those were the methods I had available at the time before they were going through a lot more transformation as they are now. And so a lot of the common ones now are Prana Transmission Technique, BCR technique, cord removal healing, and conflict elimination technique. Okay, and there still is EQ method, but EQ method is working in the non-dual way. Okay, so I did not use this particular technique for that. No, I was using other techniques like light circuitry attunements and EQ method, the earlier version, to helping with healing the ancestors in my family. And it was successful. I can certainly feel a difference as well, too. And I know that the younger ones in this generation of my family to come will be some really bright, shining stars. I can already feel it with the other extended members of my family that are coming in. So it's beautiful. Okay, great. Okay, I'm just looking around to see if there's any other questions on the chat. If you guys do have any questions regarding the Prana Transmission Technique, just let me know. I'm going to do an edit on this video as well too. Just make sure that the part with the no sound isn't there. I've had people, when they first pop onto the video, watching the recordings, oh my God, bro, there's no sound, there's no sound. Well, I'll just go to 3 minutes and 35 seconds and there's sound. But I'll see if I can fix that up. Okay, here's one from Anita. Anita says, just to confirm, the heart rate variability breathing out mouth, open or closed? No, we don't breathe out through the mouth, okay, guys? So please remember that when you're doing heart rate variability, guys, it does not involve mouth breathing at all, okay? Heart rate variability is completely through the nose, okay? So you always inhale through the nose, and you always exhale through the nose. So if you guys have done the 30-day challenge of BCR technique, you should be pretty familiar with how heart rate variability works, okay? So when you're breathing in through the nose, we just instantly go through the breath as soon as we're finished the inhale, okay? So inhale, exhale, inhale. So there's no pausing of breath whatsoever. So you do not pause before, in the middle between the inhale, exhale, or after. There's no pause. It's just a straight flow of nasal breathing, okay? So do not breathe through the mouth. If you're breathing through the mouth, you're stimulating the sympathetic, okay? We don't want to stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, okay? Sympathetic nervous system is actually what's going to trigger emotions a lot more, okay? When a person is very distressed, when they're screaming, they're shouting, right? That's all mouth breathing, okay? And that's helpful. That's helping them to balance their breath, of course, but that is actually what's triggering a lot more emotions to come together. That's the sympathetic, okay? That's the freeze response. That can also be what we refer to as fight or flight response, okay? We do not ever, ever, ever breathe in or out through the mouth through heart rate variability, okay? Heart rate variability is that because you're basically attempting to slow your heart rate a little bit, okay? So if you're going, for example, 65 beats per minute, you start doing heart rate variability, you go from 65 and it'll probably bring you right back to 60, okay? So what it's doing is it's very slowly starting to bring the heart rate variability back into a stabilized state because you're stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, okay? We can't do that with mouth breathing. Mouth breathing, you're actually going to get your heart to escalate, okay? So this is why we do not breathe in or out through the mouth with heart rate variability, okay? Just through the nose. You guys can even research heart rate variability online. There's quite a lot of different videos on heart rate variability through YouTube. Okay? A friend of mine, Forrest Knutson, also talks very extensively about heart rate variability. Okay? I've been doing heart rate variability for years, but I never knew what to call it. And then when I tuned into Forrest, he said, oh, this is heart rate variability. Oh, well, that explains what I've been doing because I just didn't have a name. I leave my exhale a little bit longer than my inhale. But I didn't know what that was called. I would just call it like an extended breath. I said, no, that's heart rate variability. I said, oh, okay, that makes sense. So the thing that I've been doing for quite some time, I was able to give a name for it. So that's what we do, is we're doing heart rate variability. It stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. It calms you down. And that is, again, it's like a vacuum. It's like cool air that is coming over top of that thought and just sucking up all of that heat off that thought. Like I said, the thought is just a prop. It's an innocent prop. We're clearing away our emotional assignment around that thought and just letting that thought go. So this is just a simple release method. Okay, very, very simple, right? It's just, like I said, I can teach this to little kids, okay? And I can teach it to adults. This should be very, very simple for everybody. So we're not worrying about having to do any kind of advanced visualizations. We're not doing any kind of retention breathing or anything of that nature. We're not doing anything complicated. Prana Transmission Technique is the simplest technique I've ever made, okay? And it's very, very effective as well, too. This is why I say start off with Prana Transmission Technique and then work your way up to BCR, okay? Or you could go right into BCR if you feel you're ready. I call BCR technique a level 1 technique, okay? A level 1 technique means you want to be at the heart space, okay? You want to be able to work with your heart. With Prana Transmission, you don't have to be there, okay? You're just following the breath. You're working with your breath, okay? So Prana Transmission focuses on the breath, okay? And that, again, through the breath, you experience release. And then we go into BCR, and BCR, of course, does work with the breath, but we're also centering on the heart, okay? So it's kind of like a flight of stairs here. Here's the first step, Prana Transmission. Here's the next step, BCR technique. Here's the next step, conflict elimination technique. Here's the next step, EQ method, okay, the non-dual. So these would be the ideas of that. So just make sure you're doing nasal breathing, okay? This one here is from MA. MA says, why do I have extreme fear about opening myself up to experience one of those negative thoughts in order to clear it? Well, it's okay if you have fear. It's all right. It's okay, right? Like I said, you're just looking at the thought and you just want to be aware of how you feel. Let's say, for example, that the thought is surrounding your dad, okay? If your dad suddenly comes into your awareness and all of a sudden there's a great deal of fear there, it's okay. Just feel the fear. You're safe. You're safe, okay? So that's a very important thing because someone will pull up a thought and they will just start to feel a lot of anxiety, right? It can feel like the person is just actually shaking. I said, are you okay? Yeah, I'm here feeling this thought. I said, it's okay. You're safe. You're safe. This is just a thought. This is just within the mind. You are completely safe where you are. Just observe. Just witness, okay? Don't attach. If you attach, if you involve, you're putting yourself in that world. So think of it as the planet Earth here. Right? Here we go with the planet Earth sphere. And if we zoom out from that sphere, we see that the sphere itself contains the emotions surrounding that particular thought that makes the Earth sphere. Okay? But if I dive right into the planet and I go right into that drama and I feel like I'm involved, and that's where there becomes panic. Okay? So we do not go into the involvement of the thought. So with the thought, we're zooming out. Okay? You are the witness. You are the observer. You are the passive observer. Okay? So you want to make sure that you're looking at your thought from a third person perspective. Okay? So you're aware of the emotions that it does to you. Okay? But you're looking at it from a third person, from an omniscient perspective. You are not involving yourself with any drama or story that is contained inside that thought. It is okay that you have extreme fear. It is okay that you may have anger. It is okay that you may have sadness, shame, guilt. It's okay. That's not a problem. Okay? And if you need to take a minute, just feel free to write it down, right? Write it down. Say, okay, here's my thought regarding my dad. There's a lot of extreme fear that I have with him. Okay, so I'm writing that down. It's okay. you're in a safe spot. You're in a safe space, okay? You are God here. So as God, you're just zooming out and looking at that thought just like a sphere, okay? Can't hurt you, can't touch you. It's a thought, okay? That thought is not going to harm you in any way. Even though it may be a scary situation, you're completely safe. Because once I start doing heart rate variability through prana transmission, and I keep doing those runs, it's going to get lighter. I may not get it all in one shot, and that's okay. You don't have to. This is why prana transmission technique is designed to be repetitive. Okay, so I do 5 heart rate variability breaths, right? 4 in, 6 out, 4 more times, 5 breaths. Now I check in with that thought. Okay, how is that thought? Okay, is that thought still affecting me? A little bit, but it is getting lighter. Good. If we even just did it a little bit like this, making it a little bit lighter, you're doing well. Okay, and then we just repeat it again. Another 5 breaths. We check in again. How's it feeling? A little more lighter. Good. All right, we do it again, and we do it again, until we feel that we are able to completely let it go. Is this thought still affecting me? No. Can I let it go? Yep, it's gone. And you're no longer even thinking about it. It's gone. So I don't even care how intense the emotion is, guys. You have the power to completely clean it out. Who is it that's giving that situation power? It's you. It always has been you. Okay? You're God here. You're God creator. As your God creator, you're the one that put those flames around that thought. And you're the one that can extinguish them. Nobody else can do that for you, right? Your best friend, your wife, your husband, no one can extinguish that flame up for you. That's your flame. That's your flame. That's your emotional inflammation. That's your thought, right? You've attached yourself to that thought and saying, this is my identity. So what we're doing is we're snuffing out that flame. We're snuffing out all of that inflammation so that just the bare thought itself remains. And now it's just a prop. It's just as plain as a pen here, right? It's no longer a pen on fire. We just whoosh, we quench out the flame. Just a plain ordinary pen. Let it go. That's all we're doing. Okay? Very, very simple. So do not go into the heavy story surrounding the situation, because that's not part of prana transmission, guys. I didn't say anything in regards to the flow of what you're doing. Oh, tell me the story about that thought and that emotional inflammation and how it came into being. I didn't ask you that. I said, here's the thought. Do you feel the emotions surrounding it? Yes. Okay, great. Hands up, because I'm surrendering to it. Okay. And I'm, again, just doing heart rate variability, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Checking in. Does this thought still affect me? No. Can I let it go? Yes, let it go. Now we go into phase 2. Okay? Very, very simple, guys. That's how easy this is. Okay, so we're going to take a couple more questions, guys. We do have to wrap up here pretty quick. Let's see. MA says, is it normal to feel a fear of suffocation during the prana transmission when both nostrils are closed? Well, why are both nostrils closed? I wouldn't suggest doing prana transmission technique if you can't breathe through your nose, okay? I would suggest, firstly, you take care of your nose first. You take care of your sinuses. I noticed I got a little bit of congested sinuses as well too. But again, I'm able to breathe through both nostrils, right? Even if I can't breathe through them 100%, that's okay. I can still breathe through them. If your nose is completely clogged and you can't breathe it all together, and you're trying to do that, well, yeah, of course you're going to try and suffocate. Now, MA, come on. We have to use a little more common sense here, okay? If your nose is completely clogged and you think that you're going to be able to do prana transmission, you're going to have a very difficult time breathing. Guys, HRV cannot come through the mouth at all. It can't. If your nose is clogged, go tend to your nose. Go tend to your nose and unclog it. Work with a neti pot, okay? Go gargle salt water, sea salt water, okay? Get nasal strips, okay? Do whatever you feel you need to make sure that your nose pathways are even just a little bit open. Okay? I need you guys to breathe through your nose, not your mouth. I get these same questions with BCR technique. Brad, what about if I really can't breathe through my nose? Well, then you stop doing what you're doing and you go tend to your nose. And you work to get it to breathe out even just a little bit. If I can breathe in just a little bit through here and a little bit through here, then I'm good. Okay? Even if one nose is clogged, one nostril is clogged, that's okay too. The other one's breathing, so that's all right. If both nostrils are clogged, don't do prana transmission. Okay? Both nostrils are clogged, don't do BCR. Okay? Go tend to your nose. So just blow your nose, do a neti pot, gurgle some sea salt water, use nasal strips, whatever you feel you got to do so that you can breathe even just a little bit through the nose. Okay? I cannot emphasize that enough, guys. That is crucial. That is mandatory. Okay? To do prana transmission technique, you have to breathe through your nose. That is mandatory. To do BCR technique, you have to breathe through your nose. That is mandatory. Okay? No excuse for that. If you cannot breathe through your nose, go tend to it, but you do not touch prana transmission technique and you do not touch BCR until your nose is in decent shape. Okay? Even if you're breathing in through one nostril, that's fine. Okay? Thank you. Okay. So I'll end with this last question here with Linda. Linda says, Brad, I liked using the Chandra technique as I have a lot of heat inflammation in my body. I felt it really helped me. Can I still use it but not overdo it? So yes, you certainly can. Now here's what I can do. This is what I was going to end on as well too, about the first version of Prana Transmission. Now I'm not going to be keeping that version around, just so you guys know, okay? Because I just don't want people getting the wrong idea, because what I'm teaching people to do is like to really hold their breath in that video, and I don't want you guys doing that, because that can risk, it can just be a risk, right? It doesn't mean you guys are going to get what I got, because I was really taxing it, but I really don't want to have it taught like that, okay? So if you decide to go with the Chandra Badan Pranayam route, this is what I want you to get first, okay? I want you to get a blood pressure monitor, okay? When you're working with Chandra Badan Pranayam, one of the rules for that I was discovering later on is that if you have low blood pressure, please don't do that, okay? Please do not do Chandra Badan Pranayam if you have low blood pressure. So get a blood pressure monitor. This is what I got from Amazon for about 40 bucks. Okay, works really, really good. And I was even testing my blood pressure as well too. It's at a nice normal level, which is fine. But make sure you have a blood pressure monitor or a blood pressure pump. Okay, and you're checking your blood pressure before you do it. Okay. Now, if you decide to do Chandra Badan Pranayam, here's what we do. Don't do breath retention. Okay. So if we're doing Chandra Badan Pranayam, we just breathe in through the nose and then switch right away out through the right nostril, okay? Don't hold your breath, okay? Big time. So what I want you to do, get a blood pressure pump, test your blood pressure, making sure your blood pressure is okay. Your blood pressure is okay. And if you want to do the Chandra Badan Pranayam version of Prana Transmission, you can, okay? But I want to make sure that your blood pressure is okay first. I don't want you guys ending up like how I did. Because I was really getting into it. Like just before I was going to the class of the weekend retreat, I was in my car, I was doing this, I was holding my breath, right? I was cleaning out my body with that as well too. It felt good. And I kept doing it throughout the whole day because I was demonstrating it, and then my body ran cold. And that's when it said, oh, that's it. That's the tally-up point. I don't want that to happen to you guys. Okay, so this is why I say don't retain the breath. Okay, so just do this and this. Out to the right, okay? In to the left, out to the right. No holding the breath. But before you do that, get a blood pressure pump, get a blood pressure monitor, make sure your blood pressure is okay first. So if you want to do that, you certainly can. So all we're doing, instead of heart rate variability, we can do Chandra Badan Pranayam in that way via a blood pressure pump checkup first, okay? And then if you want to do it that way, you can. But you don't really have to. Heart rate variability does it just the same. From what I've discovered from the two, heart rate variability is actually a lot easier. But that's my own particular perspective anyways. So yes, you can certainly do it if you want to. the original way with Chandra, okay? But please, please, please just take good care of yourselves. I don't want you guys making the same mistake I did, okay? Because I was getting way too over emphatic with this, right? I was getting a little too zealous about this, holding the breath for very long, because I held it for like very long times. I'm like driving my car and doing it too, and I'm holding my breath, and yeah, I like go back. It was fine. I mean, I had to learn all that to realize that's what you do not do. But the lesson has certainly been learned. And just doing heart rate variability instead, I still get the exact same results as I did when I was doing Chandra Badan Pranayam. Okay, so it's up to you. But if you want to do the Chandra way, please check your blood pressure first. Okay, very, very, very important. All right. Thank you, guys. We're out of time, so I will see you guys again tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time for the day number 2 of Prana Transmission Technique. I'd like you guys to try this today, okay? And get ready for some questions tomorrow. So if you're back with me tomorrow, get some questions ready after you've done Prana Transmission, and we'll tackle some more questions tomorrow for day 2. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow. Be well. Namaskar.